we're required to.
Right now, yep.
Okay, so the good news is they can always watch the archive of this and they haven't missed anything other than being able to participate live, obviously. So, okay, I'm going to go ahead and kick it off officially. We are a government subcommittee, so just as a reminder, everything here is foilable. This is the meeting of April 28th for the PlanRVA Public Outreach and Engagement Committee. It's 2 p.m. This is an electronic meeting. We're going to make a statement about that, but I am going to officially pound the gavel and we are underway. So first, welcome and introductions. I can do some of that, and then the statement regarding the virtual meetings. I guess, Martha, you're going to handle that. So first of all, electronically on Gotomeeting, we have myself, Larry Nordvig, and I'm the chairman. We have Martha Heater, brand new last name, and she's heading up PlanRVA. We've got Nicole Müller. I can pronounce it in the German way because
yeah, very good. Thank you.
Yeah. And we have Sid Kumar. And how do you pronounce your name? Where's the emphasis on your name, Sid?
Well, it's Siddharth.
So yeah, but is it Kumar? Tell me.
The third one, Kumar.
Kumar.
So the K is more emphasized in that. Yeah.
I wanted to get it right. Okay. This is on the public record after all. Anyway, so it's the four of us. We have more people invited, so if they join later, we will be required by law to introduce them vocally. So Martha, do you want to start off with the statement regarding virtual meetings for PlanRVA, please?
Yes. Since the governor declared the state of emergency on March 12, 2020, in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, state and local governmental bodies have been providing for the continuity of government by meeting remotely by telephonic or electronic means in compliance with the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, the Commonwealth's emergency, and other applicable laws, guidance provided the Attorney General and their respective legal counsel. On April 22nd, the General Assembly approved a budget amendment to authorize all public bodies, including regional bodies such as PlanRVA and the Richmond Regional Transportation Planning Organization, likewise to meet by electronic means without a physical quorum assembled together during a governor-declared state of emergency, as long as certain conditions are met so as to provide for the continuity of governmental operations. This new authority became effective immediately upon passage. The 2020 COVID-19 virus makes it impractical and unsafe, even potentially life-threatening, for a quorum of this body to physically assemble in one location, pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3708 to Section A3. Further, the virus makes it impractical and unsafe for the public and the agency staff to gather in the same location to participate in this meeting. The health, safety, and welfare of our community is of paramount importance. Therefore, we have determined the appropriateness and eligibility to conduct today's meeting electronically pursuant to the provisions of Virginia Code Section 2.2-3708.2 and related legislation approved by the General Assembly of Virginia, and in light of the Governor's State of Emergency declaration for COVID-19. The convening of this body has been determined necessary in order to continue the necessary business of the organization. The matters included on the agenda address important and essential matters of continuing the work of the government, and therefore it is appropriate to convene during this time. While we do not know the exact duration of the current practice of electronic meetings, we will continue to function in this manner until such time as it is deemed advisable to return to in-person meetings. At this time, we expect meetings to occur in electronic format through the current declaration or June 10th, 2020. Staff has provided notice of this meeting and the means by which we are virtually gathered to members of the public. Notice was provided last Friday, April 24th, through posting on the PlanRVA website and distribution of email notification to members, alternates, and known interested parties, including the media. In order to comply with the provisions of Virginia law and to improve accessibility to the discussions intended for today, this meeting will be recorded. Audio and visual recordings of the meeting will be posted on the PlanRVA website within 48 hours of this meeting. Any members of the public wishing to address the committee were invited to submit comment via email. Anyone participating as an observer during this meeting today may submit comments or questions at any time during the meeting via email, or may use the online chat functions of the meeting platform. Those individuals who are observing by phone may be called upon to address the committee with their questions or comments. All comments and questions submitted during the meeting will be reviewed following the meeting, and to the extent practical, responses will be provided or posted on the PlanRVA website. We ask that everyone identify themselves first when speaking so we can more accurately record the activities of the meeting. All lines have been muted by the administrator to minimize additional noise and feedback. You may unmute your line at any time to request acknowledgement from the chair. Those who have signed in to the online platform may request acknowledgement by using the raise hand feature in the application. Staff will be monitoring the chat and raise hand functions throughout the meeting to assure we do not overlook anyone wishing to participate in the discussion. I would say for this meeting, if anyone wants to communicate, they could unmute themselves and simply just ask the chair, since we have a small group this afternoon. I'll now ask, let's see, we've done a roll call already, but I will ask for members of the committee to identify themselves. So committee members present include Mr. Nordberg.
Yes, Larry Nordvig, Supervisor from Powhatan County District 2 and Chair of the Public Outreach and Engagement Committee.
Great. And as you said before, if other members of the committee do have a chance to sign in, we'll have them we'll acknowledge them and have them introduce themselves for the record as well. Does anyone have any questions regarding process for assuring facilitation of this meeting, or how anybody from the public can participate?
One question, Martha.
Yes.
We don't have on our agenda any space for public comment. And I think in the future, we probably ought to at least have it written down there. I highly doubt anybody's going to show up for public comment for this subcommittee,
Okay.
but I think we're supposed to have it on there if we're saying we offer it.
Would you like me to include that at the end or the beginning of the meetings going forward?
Actually, I think you're supposed to do both,
Okay.
for government subcommittees included. So it would come after the welcome and introductions and the statement you just read. It would come at the very beginning, and then again at the end before any wrap-up comments by anybody on the committee, and obviously the adjournment. So it would come right before then, or, yes, before our final comments.
Okay, great. If you just give me a second, please. I lost visual to everybody. I can still hear you.
Okay. Yeah, we lost your screen.
For some,
I can see you, actually. I can see and hear you right now.
yeah, I wonder what happened to you guys.
We're here. I see Nicole, I see Sid, and y'all see me?
I can see everyone and hear everyone.
Okay.
Sorry. It's never happened to me before.
There you go. I see your screen. You see us again?
Okay, well, I'll just leave my screen up to be shared. So,
Okay.
Okay, well, we're on to item 2, action items and updates, if you're ready.
Yes, thanks.
Okay, so one of the things that we've been talking about a lot the last couple of weeks is really how to continue our public engagement, but do it in a way that's appropriate given the times. So Sid and I and members of the rest of the staff have definitely been thinking about this a lot. I think, Mr. Norvik, we talked to you about this previously, but we have taken the position that our agency is not going to provide health advice, any sort of information about the changing policies or guidance that are coming from local, state, and federal authorities on COVID. So we've been pretty careful not to try to add to the noise about what people should be doing and what people shouldn't be doing. We have shared information, I think, that is relevant to the virus and tried to be intentional about that, about how people can continue to stay connected, how people can continue to be aware of what's going on in their community and participate appropriately and safely. But that's been, I think, candidly a fine line that we've been trying to walk these last several weeks. We did acquire access to this meeting platform, Gotomeeting. Our staff has started to use Microsoft Teams for some internal communication and that kind of thing, smaller one-on-one meetings, that kind of thing. And we are anxiously awaiting the provisioning of the use of GoToWebinar, which we think will be another really useful facilitation tool for larger attended meetings like the TPO policy board meeting and the planning commission meeting that'll happen in May. We've also been beefing up in some of our program areas, our SharePoint platform. That was something that some of our staff members were dabbling with even before we moved to remote, but it's definitely been a helpful thing for some of our staff members to collaborate internally as well as with external partners. So that's just a little bit of an update about kind of some of the tools that we've been able to deploy in the last couple of weeks and just ways that we're continuing to try to navigate this. The last thing I'll say on that is that we've tried to be also very intentional to put tools in place that are helpful today and in the current remote work situation, but also that will be useful to us in the months going forward when we return to the office and function a little bit more like we used to. And so that's been important because a lot of these tools have annual subscriptions and things like that. So we wanted to make sure we weren't just thinking near term in purchasing these, and that we have kind of a plan in place for how we're going to move forward. And then I will say one more thing that I forgot to say earlier. We did set up Chet Parsons, our director of transportation, last week did set up a YouTube channel for our agency. So once we have recorded meetings, we will actually be able to store the heavier file size files. Hey, Kristen, how are you?
Good. How are you guys?
I'm good. We're good. We just got started, so if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself for the record, if I'm right, Mr. Norvik.
Yes, and Kristen, what we already did welcome and introductions, but also we had Martha read the new electronic meeting statement. So you are required to read your name yourself and also some sort of title that you want to be known by for the meeting. So go ahead.
Okay. Kristen Larson, City Council Member, 4th District, City of Richmond, and PDC Commissioner.
Great, thanks.
And we had a really cool conversation about Martha's new last name and all kinds of stuff.
Oh yeah, I haven't gotten the skinny on that, but as soon as you got married, right?
One way or the other, right? Your name change. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I did get married. So I was just updating on a couple of like administrative things that we're doing, Kristen, so you haven't missed any of the discussion items. So I was just saying we signed up for a YouTube account last week, so we'll be incorporating that into our practices. And I mean, the nice part about that is it'll be a space saver for us so that we don't have to load the large, well, I'll put it this way, the very large audio and visual files that we'll be now including in our publishing online will be housed on YouTube as opposed to on our web server, which obviously has capacity limits. So I think YouTube was actually something that we had talked about being a longer term goal for this committee. And obviously the times have bumped that up in the timeline. So that's my not so brief update on that. And I guess I'll move into part B to talk through these. And I should have backed up for a second. Sid and I built this agenda to deal with some of the things that we've had to change and pivot on right now. So the next section is the procedures for virtual meetings. We wanted to update you on what we've done with regard to that and sort of the principles behind that, and then move into some of the things that you all have asked us to do that we think are still relevant, certainly now and into the future as far as our public engagement strategy. And then the last part of the agenda is some questions that we have for you guys about some of the things that we had set out to do in February. We wanted to just sort of check in with you to make sure it still felt right to proceed with those. So that's the way that the agenda is built.
Okay, great.
So in the packet, there's a memo and an accompanying document.
Excuse me for 1 minute. So I do have another meeting that starts at 3.
Okay.
So I'm sorry
That's
that I got late, but I do have to out of a hard stop.
That's okay. Okay, we'll try to make sure we move through this as swiftly as possible.
Okay, thank you.
So in the packet, there is a memo that outlines I'm sure all the background that both of you are very familiar with at this point with regard to virtual meetings and everything that local governments have been trying to do over the last several weeks. So we've put together that memo, particularly in light of the April 22nd decision from the General Assembly, and we've drafted procedures. So this memo and accompanying procedures, or a very close version of it, are going to be included in the TPO meeting packet for May 7th. They'll be included in the PDC meeting packet. So because a big piece of this riddle that we've been all trying to solve is about, like, how do you continue to function but also maintain accessibility and transparency with the public? And public outreach and engagement has been a major tenet of our agency in forming this committee. We wanted to just sort of talk through a little bit with you about how we are trying to very much adhere to the principles of Freedom of Information Act while we're navigating this bizarre time. So, that's a little bit of like a sort of a qualitative background on that. But we may have gone, Larry and I were talking a few minutes ago, we may have been a little bit more verbose in some of those things, but it's really driven by that intention of being very clear that we want to be open and accessible and transparent through this process. So the procedures are there. Our hope is that our respective bodies that we support will adopt these or similar procedures. They can become part of how we do our business as an agency. Nicole is sitting in today in part to sort of observe how this looks, so that she can apply that and learn lessons and apply those lessons to the TPO meetings. And so then we've also done some work. Sid has put together some guidance materials to try to make sure that it's clear that guests are welcome at these meetings. So we're not as fortunate as the city council to have as many spectators. So, we wanted to try to make sure that it was very clear that we're not trying to do business without, participation from the public. And Sid put together a guide document for making sure that people have easy to understand information on how to access Gotomeeting. We put together some etiquette tips, things like that, just to try to make it feel as friendly as possible. So that's what that item B is really about. If you're comfortable, I think we'd love to have a recommendation for this to move forward to the May 14th commission meeting, where we can actually, seek approval from them to incorporate these into our regular practices. But certainly any input or thoughts would be welcome.
Kristen, you want to kick in here?
Oh, okay. So this is what you want us to bless?
Yeah, I think in an ideal situation, it would be great to be able to put the procedures for electronic meetings on the commission agenda with a recommendation from this committee that, and I should say, we did have Eric Gregory review these, and he gave a lot of input. And so he reviewed and vetted these already from a legal perspective.
Okay. Yeah, I'm happy to move it forward if that's the will of the committee. I think the more we can communicate to the public and the more clearly we can communicate to the public, the better. And I've been saying that as we've tried to conduct business on city council, just because, the challenge of changing the way you do business is that people are going to still look to the old way. And I've definitely been concerned that we're going to lose public engagement and participation and all of that. So I think it would be great for us to include these procedures in our notices.
Okay.
And I'm fine with forwarding it to have the board take a look at it. I will tell you what I think will happen. I think, there's about a page and a half that we have here of opening statement. I think what's going to happen is the different localities are going to start slicing into it to try to shorten it up. And so I guess the bottom line is what we wind up with might be shorter than what you're looking at right now. But when they're finished, cutting it up or condensing or whatever, and that's just my guess, then I think we have Eric go back and look at their recommendations and make sure that everything is legal. And if we have to leave some things in that the board wanted to cut out, and so be it. We have to follow the directives of the General Assembly. So I'm just saying that, be expecting that. I think there's going to be some editing to this. I know my board will probably want to shorten this up by about, I don't know, a third of a page or somewhere in that range. So, but I'm fine with forwarding this and let them chew on it.
Okay. So we'll include the procedures, the summarizing memo, and the opening statement and the guidance document. We're asking them to approve the procedures, but I think the guidance document and the opening statement are really helpful because that's a part of what the procedures are. Does that,
right?
Am I taking that the right way?
Yep.
Okay.
In other words, this subcommittee is saying, yes, let's move ahead and send it forward and see what happens to it. That's what I think will happen.
Great. Okay. The next section of the agenda is I'm going to turn over to Sid if everybody's ready for that. And that is going to be a section where we talk about, Sid, looks like I got the wrong order. I think we're on social media, right? So this is an item that was on our agenda and radar from our last meeting where we said in March and April we wanted to take a look at adopting some policies for how we handle comments on our social media platforms. And obviously I think, great that this was already on your radar screen and in a direction that you gave to us, but obviously we want to make sure that we move this forward as well so that we continue to be as inviting as possible. So background wise, Sid put this together from, we polled the 9 jurisdictions in the region and asked them to send us what they do. And Sid put this together. So you want to walk us through
Sure.
that?
Yeah, so I think the reason why I knew we were already talking about creating a policy for social media as we were doing more public engagement, but now that we're online more and communication is done online, there's going to be chances of more comments or input and stuff, especially if we do Facebook posts and things like that. So kind of being aware of how people are sharing our message on their page and what kind of verbiage is used in that process, versus, not just sharing it, but putting a comment or a statement. And I encountered something a while back in regards to this, which I felt was inappropriate. So I felt like it was needed to kind of really enhance that and make that really noticeable on our page. So that way people can really not have to, don't have to put in bad comments or unnecessary comments and only put in comments related to the post. So the social media policy, I started out saying that, we encourage questions, comments, and concerns about matters about the Richmond region, via email, telephone, or submitting comments. But it's not a forum. So we can't have a constant discussion of what's going on. If you want to reach us, email us and let us know. And if you are posting anything, posts that are not allowed and that we can remove are anything that's not related to the topic discussed. Anything that contains any profanity, illegal sexual content, copyrights, promoting, I think it said something about campaigns or candidates, anything that has a safety of the public or public systems. So all of those are a compiled information of what most of the localities are using for their social media page. So I thought being consistent with that would be great, especially if we are tagging and utilizing the social media of other localities and having them share posts and things like that. So if we keep that consistent, we know how to kind of really engage with that. So this is something I've kind of put together. It'll be added to a general social media policy of how we post and everything too. But I think this is something we need to address now, just because we are moving more online and we are prone to getting comments or shared stuff in this direction, and kind of need to tackle that as soon as we can. So this will just be available, and this I think this is pretty consistent with what everybody has, and it highlights everything that would be a problem and how we can remove it as well. So that's why I felt this was creating it. I also mentioned that the material covered by this policy does not just include comments. People that put up videos, images, links to other sites, all that is deemed unnecessary and either illegal or misuse of information at that point. That we have the right to remove any material that does not comply with the policy. So that's a general gist of what that is.
So, question, has Eric's reviewed this also?
He has not. That would be the next step.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think the major differences I saw in the jurisdictions is how they interpret free speech. And some of the jurisdictions have, I think, more lenient policies where they actually don't really take anything down. Others appear to have more stringent policies. So the language, like this list that Sid has compiled, I think is pretty common to what all of our jurisdictions that gave us their policies sent. It's whether or not they actually remove it is sort of, I think, the differentiation of how different jurisdictions, and it comes down to interpretation of free speech.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is a big part of what Eric's focus will be on. We consulted him earlier in the calendar year on this topic, and I mean, he's definitely open to looking at things. He did not feel like he had a really good model for us because it's so murky. So
right, that's my non-legal understanding of it as well. And Larry probably has the same situation that I do, where we have our own Facebook pages and social media that we maintain, and then our jurisdiction, well, you know, in our case, we have a city council and a mayoral administration site. So to be honest with you, I don't think the city council and really gets a lot of banter. However, for whatever reason, mine seems to, from time to time, explode with comments, and there's been a couple of times where I have taken things down, but I mean, I know there was a lawsuit with one of our state I think it was senator. So I think there's a lot of baggage with the removing or not removing comments. Like I said, for my personal page, I've just kind of, when people say things that are threatening or offensive, I take it down, and I am not sure if I really should be or not. So don't, you know, spread that wide and far. But I feel like, you know, people should be putting that out there. So that's why I do think Eric should lay eyes on it before we put it in front of the full commission.
Okay.
Yep, totally agree. In fact, Kristen, I was going to ask you what is your policy and what is your Richmond's policy, and I'll just kick in. Same story, of course. We have the board, we have a county Facebook page, but I also have my individual one. And the guidance from my county attorney was very telling. He basically said to me, don't take anything down, don't delete anything, don't block anybody, unless you really want to go to bat that it is legal harassment, legal threat, legal, whatever, sexual, predatory comments. He said you have to be really, really careful, because anything a public official does online with, commissioner, board of supervisor, anything attached to it is a public site. It's considered public. So you can't take down just anything you want to off a public site. Mm-hmm. And that, I would think, is this. So definitely. So to wrap up, two things. Definitely have Eric look at it. And the second thing is the least number of rules you can get away with, the better, because when you start getting really specific, and I think we have 11 things here, that's starting to get pretty specific. The more specific you get, the easier it is for somebody to get around it. you know, the more general the guideline, like no campaigning is allowed, that's pretty broad. And you would be on, Sid, for you, you'd be on very safe ground. Anything touching campaigning, you could take down. Whereas if you say no campaigning in the November election is allowed, now you see what I mean? There's a lot that they can put on. So be general and be brief with your, you know, do not list.
Yeah.
And Kristen's right. Have Eric look at it. Cool?
Yeah, I agree.
And can I add one more thing? I know Sid has been, he also collected a lot of policies that delve actually more into how staff looks at social media. So we could also, that if you are available to do that, you could start pouring through that part of it. There's sort of like the public facing, what are the rules for citizens? But then there's also kind of like our internal procedures around, don't, just like we talked about, Sid, I mean, like we don't want to have staff members answering things on the public forum, you know, one-on-one messages, private, you know, that kind of thing. So
Sure thing.
Well, yeah, you could.
Yeah, that's a great idea to have that guidance for your staff.
Yeah, my short answer to that is, you know, Kristen and I are elected officials, so we have much more stringent rules, if you will, both spoken and unspoken. Staff members, the only person that should be literally representing PlanRVA is the designated spokesperson or two, which can be you, Martha, and maybe one other. And anything should be funneled through that person, and that's the official traffic. And if anybody just, you know, on the staff just happens to go off on social media, you can always say, no, that's not our official spokesperson. You know, we have counseled that person. You know, we've done training with that person, and it won't happen again. That kind of thing.
okay. Well, we'll get this go over to Eric with the guidance that you've given, and then on a parallel track, Sid, you'll kind of keep working on those other procedures. Okay, great.
Yeah, because I think since a couple of us have our admins or have access to the pages, I think it's just important to identify that and showcase that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Kristen, since you need to go, I'm gonna, if it's okay, just skip a little bit ahead, just because I wanted to just brief you a little bit. This is the document that we had looked at in our last in-person meeting. The yellow highlights are just new additions to what we think the timeline needs to be. So if you see anything there that is alarming, I mean, let us know. But Sid and I kind of tried to go through this and think about what's the acceptable. Larry and I spoke about this earlier this week together. I think the one question that we have is sort of around the new commissioner orientation. Obviously, those were going to be scheduled in March. That didn't happen. Larry and I talked briefly in prepping for this meeting about just sort of, I think, my conundrum on that. And while it is unfortunate that there are people who were appointed to our board and have really only had benefit of being at one meeting this year, it seems not a good way to orient people to try to do it by video chat. That was the consensus that Larry and I had yesterday. And so just kind of wanted to get your take on that, and any advice you might have or thoughts you have about us pushing that perhaps to August or September when hopefully we can get together.
So have the new commissioners had any sort of onboarding at all?
I mean, no. I mean, some new commissioners were in attendance at the February commission meeting. But others, like Miss Lynch were not. I mean, she wasn't able to do that one. So, you know, we've had no interaction with some of our new commissioners unless they read the emails that we send out, which is a really overwhelming way to get to know an organization.
How many new commissioners are there?
I'd say 8 or 10.
Okay. Would it be possible to reach out to them individually and just not do like a, you know, orientation or anything like that, but just say, hey, I wanted to connect with you because you're the designee, and, just kind of walk you through, like, super high level, like, this is who we are, this is how we conduct our business,
Yeah.
this is how we're conducting business right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if it makes sense, like for Stephanie, if you wanted to do that and like set up a half hour, I'm happy to be a part of that. So I could, like say, hey, from the Richmond perspective, this is what you can expect. Because I do think, and I've mentioned this before, I can't remember if it's in the big group or in our committee, but for a lot of the localities, you guys get briefed by your administration on whatever the packet is. In Richmond, we don't, like, we get the packet, we look at it, we don't get any sort of like review by the administration of like, hey, this is our recommendation on where we are on these issues. So.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. I can absolutely do that, just to do kind of a less formal kind of one-on-one check-in with each of our new members. And it can be at least an invitation if they want to take me up on it, they can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
I agree with Larry that an orientation virtually would be overwhelming, probably for you guys and for the commissioners.
Okay.
Just to kind of piggyback on that comment, we are allowed up to 10 people physically in the same room, and we've got an enormous conference table, a big room. We could literally put 10 people in there, up to 10, and have them be 6 feet apart. Is that something we're interested in doing?
Yeah, I think if my personal opinion and the conversations I've had with Eric would be that if it feels like it is a voluntary thing and people truly are left to whatever they're most comfortable with, then I think that would be fine. We would limit the number of staff members. It would probably be limited just to me that would participate from the staff perspective. But yeah, I think that could totally be doable if people wanted to get together that way. You're right. I mean, there's no requirement that says that we can't do smaller person things.
Kristen, what do you think we could offer, whether they want to, would they prefer to participate live, so to speak, or physically present, or would they prefer to have, a Gotomeeting / phone call? And then if they choose a physical kind of meeting, then they did just voluntarily decide to come. I mean, that's one way to do it. You may only get 5 people, which means we could have more staff in there, But I think we need to offer. I think we need to, you can think about the physical meeting, but I definitely think we need to reach out and offer to them both the staff perspective, and then Kristen and I are probably a good set of bookends for this, because Kristen is a large locality and I'm a rural locality, and you might get a mix of both of those with corresponding questions that each of us might be the better one to answer. So I'm obviously volunteering my time for it.
Yeah, I'm happy to meet folks wherever they are. I just don't want people to feel pressured to meet in person. Like, we never know folks' family situation or health situation and all that, which is ironically is all the things we talked about at our last in-person meeting, right? So, so I have tried to just be as flexible as possible, meeting from my kitchen while my children are in and out getting lunch and whatnot. So,
okay.
By the way, what's for lunch, Kristen? Just asking.
Well, I haven't eaten lunch, but Maggie was having a smoothie earlier. So I was 5 minutes late to my earlier call because she had the blender on.
Well, the bottom line is we want to reach out to these people and answer any questions they have, and kind of give them the, the high level dog and pony show of this is what PlanRVA is all about. And that is our committee's job.
Right.
So
Yeah.
however let's put it back on them. However they feel comfortable, like Kristen just said, we can accommodate, and it'll maybe split into two camps where some want to come physically, and I'm okay with meeting with them. And then some will want to do it electronically, or one-on-one is going to be sufficient, or whatever. So let's throw it back at them and see what we get.
Okay, sounds good. Great.
All right.
One more thing, and then we'll circle back up to item 2D. I did want to just sort of share with you some preliminary thoughts about, we had talked at the last meeting again about how the agency might continue to work in the next fiscal year to increase our capacity for public engagement. Certainly with the economic conditions that we're all preparing for, that is going to look very different in the next coming fiscal year than I might have hoped it would, a month or two ago. So I'll say a couple things, and we're going to have a finance committee meeting tomorrow where we'll dig into this a little bit more. But one of the interesting things about the Planning District Commission is because our funding flows differently than jurisdictions, the impacts of everything happening right now are actually quite different for us financially. The federal funding that we receive is pretty stable this coming fiscal year because it was appropriated last federal fiscal year. So, at this point in time, we're not seeing any indication that any of those awards are going to be rescinded or there will be any kind of change in the majority of our forecasted revenues for the upcoming fiscal year at the federal level. At the state level, it's a little bit of a different picture. Planning District Commissions were fortunate enough in the regular session of the General Assembly to be included for actually an increase in funding since the 1990s, which is really exciting. However, as you can imagine, the more recent action by the General Assembly is to put a hold on any new investments from the state. So the downside is that increase that we fought so hard for in this session is likely not to come through. The upside is it probably means that we're not going to get a reduction in our funding. So, stable funding certainly is much better than a reduction. And then on the local perspective, I have been having some very informal conversations with local government administrators about how PlanRVA can do its part to support the jurisdictions as everybody is facing really pretty dire decisions, difficult decisions in the budget process locally. So we are preparing to do a reduction for this year in our per capita contributions. It equates to about 10% reduction in funding. Planning District Commission receives 55 cents per capita from each of the member jurisdictions. And the going estimate that we have right now is 50 cents per capita. That hasn't been officially communicated to me by anybody, but it's just been based on kind of the informal conversations that I've had with our administrators about what part can we play in helping local governments close the gap. Again, the good news there is that while it's a reduction, some of that reduction is absorbed by population increase. So, we have this assessment that's based on a floating number, essentially, with every year the increase estimated to occur on population for each locality. But at the same time, it's more like, I think about it as like level funding to last year, and not as significant as a cut that kind of helps us. That being said, I'm well aware that there's what our agency can afford, and there's also what it looks right to afford. And certainly an organization who's expanding and investing might not look good when our other local government partners are contracting and trying to pull back on what they're trying to do. And there's, I think, a unique tension that exists with organizations like ours, because in many respects, when smaller communities or even larger ones are cutting back, that's a time for the Planning District Commission to kind of step up and help fill those gaps from a coordination and service delivery. But it also, if not really fully examined, it can look bad. So all that to say, we were working to put together some scenarios where we would be able to increase our staff capacity in the coming year by transitioning one part-time position to full-time, and ideally being able to advertise for the creation of 2 new positions. I don't know whether the board will have appetite to support that, given furloughs and other things happening at the local level. So our strategy to date has been to be able to put together the on paper evaluation of whether or not we can afford it, and then the board will have to consider whether or not that feels right to go forward with that kind of a scale up of our staff capacity or not. In that strategy, one of the positions that we would look to create would be someone focused on public outreach and engagement, to fulfill objectives in our strategic planning framework, but also to really be able to support our long-range transportation plan that will really be in high gear from an outreach and engagement perspective next year, as well as our hazard mitigation plan that will have a very significant public engagement component. So that's kind of a lot to lay on you, but Kristen, before you jumped off, I wanted you to hear that just so you can be thinking about it. I think that this is going to be a conversation that we'll try to begin in May with the executive committee, and then it'll come to the full commission as a, hopefully you guys will be able to weigh in, the finance committee will weigh in, the executive committee will weigh in before it comes to a discussion in June at the full commission level. But, that's kind of where we are. We're trying to shore up our capacity to support the local governments, especially in this time. And we think public engagement and outreach is a critical part of that. We also think that we need somebody that's focused more intentionally on data research and analysis. That's a little bit outside of the purview of this committee, but it's important for you guys to be aware. And then that transition from a part-time to a full-time position would be planning, largely focused on resiliency, but generalist planning support that would be able to help across our various program areas. So.
Okay, it's good to have a heads up on that. So is it officially being vetted through finance or through the executive committee first?
It'll go to the executive committee first, because they serve as sort of the personnel committee, and then it'll go to finance. So executive committee will hear this, probably some version of what I just said, at their May 14th meeting. Then when finance meets later in May, they will hear about it, and then it would come back to the full commission via executive committee in June.
Okay.
And just as a reminder, I'm on the executive committee. So Kristen, if you have thoughts, you can email me directly or text me or whatever, quick phone call, and we can chat about what you're thinking, and I can carry that in.
And I think, again, this is one of those things where I don't think it's going to be as simple of a discussion just about, do we have the finances to support the position? It's going to be about what does that look like in relation to the decisions that the localities are having to make right now. And I think a case can be made, and I would be very happy to make it, that this is actually a time where a support organization like ours should be within the confines of its budget, increasing its capacity, but I can appreciate that others might have a different opinion.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you from the recession in 2008, one of the first things Powhatan County did was lay off or eliminate the position of economic development. And to me, that was backwards thinking. At the very time they needed to expand that category, they literally did away with the economic development office altogether. I think that was wrong. I think that was the opposite tack. So what you just said kind of matches where my philosophy is. When you have an organization that can close the gap that we're going to experience, that's the time to beef it up. So my gut reaction is, if we get a good bang for the buck for what you're talking about, that might be just the thing to do. But I got to look at the numbers. Kristen's right that finance, we do have to look at dollars, and that is an important component. But then comes the the theoretical, strategic, what's the best way to move forward and to have everybody survive this thing in good fashion.
Yeah. I think the other nuance to this is I definitely think there, Martha, for you all, if you're moving this forward and want to sort of make your case to the commission, is to show exactly what the return on investment is.
Yep.
But then the other nuance is, your budget isn't impacted that much right now, but we don't know how long this is going to last.
Absolutely.
We don't know where we're going to be in a year. So are we going to onboard people? And then what happens if 12 months from now, you not only have to lay them off, but you have to lay off, 5 other people. So that would be my concern, because we are in a very fluid state still where, we don't know what's going to happen next week.
Right. Yeah,
agree.
I wholeheartedly agree. I think the worst situation for us would be to create new positions that we can't sustain. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay. I'm gonna drop, but if you guys need anything else from me, do you need me to bless anything or?
No, we've done the action items. So I think Sid will run through the updates on the outreach activities back up to 2D, and I can always catch up some other time if you want to hear about those projects.
Okay. All right.
I'll have the summary of those outreach activities in a document placed in the folder where all the other documents were for the public outreach. So you'll be able to take a look at that based on what we've discussed in the meeting today.
Okay. Larry, if we might actually need to move on just because of your schedule too. So
I'm sorry, this will be on YouTube, right?
It'll be posted, yeah.
Yeah, so Kristen, you can enjoy it. Just get a cup of coffee or something and sit back and watch this bureaucratic meeting unfold. It'll be great.
Well, I do have to on occasion replay some of my council meetings where I'm like, I know I said that.
Yeah, it's pretty eye-opening. I try not to do that, but every now and then, yeah.
Oh, I try not to do it too, and then I go back and I'm like, and I said that too. I knew I said that.
All right, well, go back to making your peanut butter and jelly sandwich now.
All right, thank you guys. Stay safe. Okay, bye.
All right, where are we?
Okay, so I can, before going to 2D, since we're already on 3, I'll just finish the 3A right now. So in the packet, there is a profiles and bios questionnaire, which we thought that would be a great start into getting to know the commissioners, getting to know our staff as well. But this could be a start into also knowing the new commissioners that are joining in as well. Just a little something about them, and that's something we could showcase on Facebook at some point. But that would be the beginning of the public outreach for our commissioners on the committee.
I love that idea. Absolutely love that idea.
So it's pretty simple if you look at the document. I mean, it's just basically asking, what you do and all the roles. Yep. So I thought that was just a simple question that people can just quickly answer and then share something about, them being in Richmond or what about Richmond. But based on the timeline that's on the second page of the packet, that would be a good thing to move into next month, into June, as we figure out the next steps into public engagement.
Yeah, I agree. And then I think you're going to get there, but have we, we passed around those sheets, people who wanted to volunteer with new members, et cetera. Are we going to match those up pretty soon, or how's that going to work?
So we were thinking about matching, but I mean, we can't really do much with that after it matched. So that would probably be what we were talking about, it being pushed later in the months, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, Larry, that was what we wanted to ask you about. I mean, should we just go ahead and tell people they could sign up to, they've already signed up to match, should we just match people and send them a thing now and say, hey, you've been matched, like during this time, try to connect with your colleague? Or should we push it off? Like, what do you think is a better thing to do?
You know what? I'm always we're the outreach committee, so I'm all about outreach. So yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Okay.
You know, if half the people don't do it, well, half of them are. But if we don't press forward, nobody's doing any outreach there. So,
Sure thing.
you know, I don't mean that in a critical way. I mean, I think we ought to push ahead. We were just starting to get to the point in this subcommittee where we were beginning to take, you know, definitive action, and we were going to be face to face with all these people and you know, making videos and putting them up on Facebook. Life was good. I had a really good vibe about what we were doing. And then this, you know, super bug hits and kind of squishes everything we were doing. So let's get the momentum back as best we can under the circumstances. We can still make videos and do that sort of thing. I can help with that too. So I say let's press on. But I love the questionnaire. It's quick, simple, and gives everybody a really good snapshot of, you know, who this person is. So I like it.
Okay, great.
Perfect. Okay, so now moving up to 2D, updates on the outreach activity. So with the PlanRVA 2045, the transportation, long-range transportation, wow, I'm totally forgetting the name for it. Long-range vision for the transportation. Basically, we finished our public comment, which ended on April 15th, and we're now looking at results from what people had, what inputs came in, maps, feedback, anything that we can kind of gather to kind of move on to the next phase into this LRTP project. Nicole, I don't know if you wanted to give a little bit more into, based on our last meeting, as to what the next steps is, because I'm working on the social media side for putting something out there like a word cloud or something that, you know, showcases what people have said or had thought in about this project.
Right. Well, phase one closed, like you said, which was the collection of issues from the public. We're now in the next phase, and they are basically, I think, categorizing the issues and making lists of, you know, what people have commented on. I think that's what we're actively in right now.
So until we figure out the next steps with it, we're still looking through that, gathering data, and then I think maybe for our next meeting or next update, we can provide something more into the PlanRVA. So that's what's going on right now. I did give, so I connected with somebody in the governor's office, and they have a newsletter that goes out each month. And so I sent in a sample newsletter image that talks about what PlanRVA is and what Connect 2045 is. And it's just, our logos are up there, and then it's just a brief description of what it is. So I basically said PlanRVA supports member governments to plan and consider long-term needs and improvements for the Richmond region. The intention is to provide a forum for state and local governments to address issues of a regional nature, things of greater than local significance. So that'll be the PlanRVA side description. And then for PlanRVA, it's through PlanRVA 2045. The Richmond Regional Transportation Planning Organization will guide the region's transportation investments over the next 20 years to support the mobility needs of our community and its future growth. And below is the PlanRVA 2045 website and the PlanRVA website as well. So people have access to going into viewing that both on both sides and be able to get more, we'll get more views on our project and as an agency as a whole. So initially it was going to be more of a public input for issues and needs. But because that period is over, I thought we could still push out the newsletter, or at least an info, but talk about who we are. And the contact I made at the governor's office is all about community development and seeing how we work in our region. And the newsletter goes out to Central Virginia, which includes our localities. So it's a perfect way to get our information out there, get our name out there even more, and then people can browse from there. So once I hear more information from her, that's my next step on the PlanRVA 2045 and PlanRVA public engagement part for us.
Sid, is this something that from the governor's office, when they push out this newsletter, is it going to all the different supervisors, commissioners, council members in our region? Do you know?
Yes, they just told me that it's a Central Virginia newsletter, so it goes out to everybody in Central Virginia, which is including our localities. Because she looked at our website, which she says it does go to all the 9 localities
It
that
would
are
be
on
like
it as well.
people who have signed up for that newsletter in Central Virginia, I think.
Yes, yeah.
It's not a push out. It's like you have
Yeah.
to ask for the information to be sent to you, and then they sort it according to geography.
So
Is
I
this
can look into.
Is this something we can mention to the whole board and say, here's another resource that you can, take and then relay to your constituents or whoever?
I'm sure, yeah. I think once it's out, I can definitely get a copy and be on the email blast list for that, and then so that can be sent out to whoever, and then spread it out some more as well once it's finalized.
Okay, because if we've got stuff in there, why not put that out too? Okay,
exactly.
I got, my constituents, they love it when I put stuff up there, and sometimes I'll get personal Facebook messages instead of likes or whatever, but they'll say things, hey, thanks Supervisor Nordvig for giving us information. We never knew that. I get that. So
the initial contact, I think, before he connected me to this new person was the director of constituent services for that office.
Okay.
So and all of their work deals with mostly the public and that. So I can find out a little bit more detail once she kind of confirms back. But that's something, because she did tell me about a page where you could add in events or things that you missed. So she gave me a couple other categories that our information can go in. So this is just a brief info right now, and then if we have something in the works, I'm sure she'd be fine with seeing how we can kind of develop that for the future.
Oh, great. Okay, good job. All right.
So that's that part. Now with Don't Trash Central Virginia, with this whole COVID-19, staying home, staying safe is very important. So engaging with people, doing these group pick cleanups, organizations that are hosting these river cleanups and stuff are mute. People can't really go out, people can't interact or be close. So, but we still want to make litter aware. We still want to keep the campaign going, even if we can't do it outside publicly with everyone else. So the shift, after we talked about it, we shifted our focus to putting out more facts about litter. So things that we can still sort of relate to. So cigarette butts are something that people are still littering out from their car window while driving or anything like that. So that's something we can push out, saying something about cigarette butts on the ground. A new thing after sending an email out to our litter managers and PIOs, somebody mentioned about the medical gloves that people are using from the hospitals, and they're just on the ground after they finish using it because they can't use it or anything. So that's being littered as well. So that'll be one of our next focuses, because initially within the last 2 weeks, we focused on litter and everything leading up to Earth Day, which was April 22nd last week. So we wanted to really just focus on that of keep yourself healthy, keep the earth healthy sort of campaign, and just we didn't have too many pictures, but we put our logo of the Don't Trash Central Virginia and then a little text. And we developed a social media post document so that people can use those texts and post on their website, on their social media, Facebook pages and things like that. So that is the direction we're sort of moving to with the anti-litter, and then we'll see what else we can come up with. But we did browse and on the idea of folks that could take pictures of litter that they see and not really pick it up. So I don't know how we want to move with that, but we got to figure out the logistics with that on seeing it but not picking up. Like, it's just little odd on that and not getting so
yeah. You're gonna get me in trouble, right? They're gonna take pictures of litter in District 2, and then I'm gonna get 100 phone calls.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, three things. I want to hit 3 things, because we're always trying to find something that resonates, right? If our content stinks, then why should anybody read it, like it, forward it? But if we're resonating, that's like 80% of the way there, and then presentation being the other, marketing. There's 3 things that I've noticed since this whole lockdown-ish thing started. Some localities, including Powhatan, have reduced trash services, either because the drivers can't come in from the city and pick up as much trash and haul it back, out of the localities, or workers themselves are sick and they're out, or don't feel comfortable coming in physically. And so there you go. So since there's reduced trash services, you might want to discuss, I don't know how to put this. Out here, we have people who spend their time cleaning out their garage because they've got time and they have to be at home, and they throw it all in the back of the pickup truck and they drive it up to the trash dump where they're told, no, you can't dump debris right now. We don't have enough capacity. So they drive back home, and the best case, they're not going to put it back in the garage, right? So the best case is they dump it on their driveway for later, which is in and of itself a public safety and health risk, because you get critters in there, you get copperheads in there and whatever. The other thing that they might do is dump it in the woods or in the ditch on the way. And I just got a call yesterday from somebody who stopped someone from doing that on a lot that they did not own, kind of back in the trees. So what am I saying? In a time of reduced trash service, if we can come up with alternatives or remind people, to call ahead or whatever you think best. There are some private trash places in and around. I know Amelia County has one, and they're taking all-comer trash. They charge a small fee, but it's an alternative if you can't get rid of yours. So something along those lines would resonate, because there's a lot of people concerned about that. Another one would be to ask people, this would be like a separate bullet, remind people to bag up their household trash. If they show up with unbagged trash and it spills and the wind's blowing it around, now you've got a worker from the locality that's got to pick this stuff up, and that exposes them to possible contamination from the virus.
Absolutely.
So, just a little public service thing. Hey, it'd be a real help if you would bag up your household trash. And then a reminder, this is the third bullet, recycling in most localities that I've checked with, including ours, is proceeding normally. So you can bring, your newspaper, cardboard boxes, glass products, and put them in the recycle bins normally in most localities. Again, if they want to call ahead and check. But so you can encourage them to continue to recycle it. Those are three things that come to mind.
Okay, because I did notice, my roommates do recycle some items, so we've put it out in the recycle bin, and they have come by and picked it up. So that has been frequent, regular. So yeah, I'll bring this up to the other staff, other committee members.
Well, those are
say too.
That's just fodder for more content. That
I think that's great. I think that's great.
Push out.
Absolutely, because I'm aware of the fact that some people are not going to work, but that's a good point with some localities having reduced trash services just because of, like you said, people that are not going in or just hard to get to that area could create more litter. But then that's something we got to kind of open that out as well.
Well, the other thing too is one of the reasons there's reduced services because they're having way more capacity issues than normal, because they're having mountains of debris delivered. You have people that run a handyman service that they're trying to make up for maybe a lost paycheck from being a subcontractor on some building project. So they're doing more, deck renovations or hanging drywall or whatever, and they've got all this debris at the end of the day. So that is growing, as well as people just cleaning out their attic or their closet or the garage or whatever. We've experienced an explosion of extra debris coming up to ours. So there you go.
Yeah, I think you're right. There's an article, I think it's in the Washington Post this morning, about Fairfax County, or one of the really big jurisdictions in Northern Virginia is it's urban, it's rural. Everybody's experiencing that influx of refuse right now.
So it's an issue that resonates, and if you can solve their problem, if you can come up with suggestions or links or phone numbers or whatever, all of that would resonate with people, and they would probably forward that information around to friends on Facebook or whatever.
Okay, I'll definitely have to keep that in mind and be able to bring that up. I think that's a good good topic, because we were trying to figure out what else we can do surrounding this issue, or what else we can talk about, and just adds more content. You're right.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
And I think that's really everything I have for the outreach side of things. I'm still posting stuff on the PlanRVA Facebook page when I can. Recently, it's been about the census or recognizing an employee, just kind of shifting different topics. But yeah, so that's been that. And then I've been doing some work with the Emergency Management Central Virginia Alliance by posting on their Facebook page about recognitions, or talking more about ways we can kind of build a community and work together with this crisis that's going on and everything too. So, yep.
So Larry, I'll just be really quick on my update. Just wanted to brief you. One of our big outreach focuses over the last 6 weeks has been with the launch of Together One Region. .org. It's a web landing page that we've created through our emergency management program. And it's the, I'll call it the information referral landing page for people who want to contribute to the COVID-19 Emergency Response Fund. That fund was established with the Community Foundation through a partnership with the Emergency Management Alliance in 2018, but this is the first time we have activated it. So as part of our whole community preparedness efforts and public outreach around emergency preparedness, we've been working for the last couple of years to build this mechanism that in the midst of a disaster, when people want to contribute financially or with time, in-kind donations, things like that, there needs to be a pre-existing mechanism, because otherwise you're spending the critical weeks of launching response in setting up this infrastructure. So
Yeah, right.
We were able to do that, which is just really exciting. And I can pull stats. I didn't look at them today, but we're now tracking this traffic to this website so we can see where people are coming from, where they're going from the site. It gives a little bit of information about the fund and the partners and different ways that people can contribute. So top of the line is contributing money. But also we have information for people who want to donate large and small scale in-kind items to the relief and response effort. And then also ways that people can safely volunteer during this time. So we're pretty proud of it. The PlanRVA is intentionally not being recognized as a major player in this, but Katie on our staff and Sid have spent a tremendous amount of time helping to think through how we can get the word out about this site. NBC 12 has picked it up. They're running a spot every day during their daily news coverage, and they have created a website that mirrors our design on their site. They're loading web content on. They've launched a t-shirt campaign where half of the proceeds from the t-shirt sales are going directly to the COVID-19 Response Fund. And it's just been really awesome to leverage our public outreach activities for the commission to be able to help with the relief. I told you yesterday I checked, I think about $80,000 have been awarded to Powhatan specifically for food delivery and donation, and probably some other dollars have been deployed in Powhatan, but they're nested within like regional partnerships and regional awards and that kind of thing. But we've generated about $4.6 million so far for the fund. And
Wow.
I think about $2.2 million have been allocated to community-based organizations who are on the front lines doing relief work. So it's been intense, but it's also been really exciting. And while we're not making the headlines and some of the news releases and news coverage about the fund, it's been a great way to be able to flex who we are and what we can do among our regional partners. So, this has been a chance for us to work deeply with United Way, Community Foundation, with NBC 12, with the local governments and the emergency management community, with the education foundations, with a number of different partners as we've kind of worked through setting up the structure and navigating this whole process. So pretty exciting. And Sid's done a ton of work to try to help make our website kind of feed to this. And all the social media posting that one might see from any of our channels is all Sid on this. So he's been doing great. And then I'll say, kind of segueing, it's been a really neat way for us to think about how to leverage. Oh, I'll show you one other cool thing on the site. So we had Wes Carey come up with this graphic. And as you can see, it scrolls through and it changes the graphic to include every locality in the regional footprint. So Bridget on your team actually has the Powhatan one that we've open sourced it, and we've given people logos and things like that, so that if they want to share it on their social media sites to really see the local identity in the regional project, they can do that. So Sid's taken that one step further. Can I show him that banner that you?
Yeah,
okay.
Sure thing.
Sid sent this today, and I think it's really cool because it's a great way for us to start leveraging that together one region concept, and to be able to think about it, I think, in a sort of a more holistic way. So here we go. So one of the things that we're talking about, and I think it leads right into that messaging that you talked about with the trash and recycling, is, you know, if we can start to build our messaging around stay safe, stay connected, stay engaged, you know, there's ways that people can still contribute and participate, whether it's a long-range transportation plan, it's being more mindful of what they're doing with their trash, it's donating time or money or in kind to the relief effort. I think that this is a really cool way that we can connect our work to how people can sort of do their part during this time. And, you know, there's lots of lovely language out there right now, like the highway signs are saying, you know, we're all in this together and that kind of thing. So we've been trying to kind of play on the PlanRVA's collateral and language, you know, better together, and really be able to harness that for this stuff. And so we're starting to brainstorm how we can use this, and Sid made this to sort of try to be that symbol of, you know, how we can start to communicate these things, and people can still be connected to what's going on in their community, even if they're at home. So that's my soapbox, but I'm obviously, you can tell, like, we're really excited about where we think this could go.
I have one thing real quick I wanted to mention in regards to the Virginia Strong that people are doing. So Megan Weiss, the meteorologist from NBC 12, follows my photography page. And so she put a post on her page saying, so many people have asked about the Virginia Strong t-shirts, and she's saying that they are for sale. All proceeds will go directly to the Central Virginia COVID-19 Response Fund. Link in the bio if you'd like one. So she posted that on her Instagram, but I thought that was pretty neat. So I didn't know if that was a way I might connect with her on a direct message and just tell her that I work for PlanRVA, and, you know, I'm involved with the project of the, you know, Central Virginia thing, and see how we can kind of connect something if possible with the Instagram and go from there. Because she doesn't know I work for PlanRVA, she just knows I'm a photographer, and that's it.
That's
so
awesome.
yeah, I think
that might be. So you're furthering your photography career on the back of PlanRVA. I get it.
If I can, yeah. If I can connect it somehow. I mean, some people, businesses or NBC 12 follows my work. So if they are posting something about this and I'm involved with it, I think I could connect it, even if it has no direct relation, but like I could still connect it just talking about it to them, that, hey, I'm part of this. Just wanted to let you know, and then see how we can kind of work together on it.
Now I'm our own in-house social media influencer.
Well, I'm putting it together. Now I see why he wants to take pictures of trash and see pictures, photography. I get it. Okay, so well, we're glad to help you, Sid.
Absolutely.
Hey, I've actually done a lot, not lately, but I've done a lot with NBC 12. I've done a lot of interviews with them and work with them, and Kelly Avellino is in my, you know, contact list on my phone, and sometimes she sends me a text to get my opinion on stuff going on in the region. So there's kind of a connection there too. I know the sound engineer.
Wow.
NBC 12, I coached his son in baseball. We're actually pretty good friends. And I've been to NBC 12 just socially, not just to do interviews and whatnot. So, you know, there's a little bit of an open door there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Some of the people I know have actually moved on to bigger and better things, but I still know a few people there. So if you need it, there you go.
That would be great, because we don't actually have direct contact with them. They've just gotten involved because of, you know, the chamber and the community foundation and things like that. So yeah, that would be great.
Is that verbiage good? I was kind of thinking about it as I put it together. This stay safe, stay connected, stay engaged. I didn't know if that seemed all right or if it seems too like there's synonyms for a couple of words, or that's what I was kind of looking at too.
I like it. I didn't have any negative reaction to it at all. I just kind of looked at it and thought, that's cool. With the logo there, I like it. I got no complaints.
I actually
What, do you have
translates
well
reservation because it's not. I mean, it could be adaptable for post quarantine kind of too. I mean,
Absolutely.
like this could be the way that we brand our new meeting protocols.
Yeah.
So I think it's really good, actually.
Okay. Thank you.
Can't we take a little bit of credit on that website? I mean, it's such a great opportunity. It is the thing that everybody's talking about, for one. So
Yeah.
you got an automatic resonating. And
Yeah.
then, I see emergency. I see that teeny tiny. What we need to do, can you put that in like 72 font or something with maybe pictures of the four of us on there? Something.
Yeah. I will tell you, I mean, this continues to be our agency's conundrum. And, to whom is it important that we market? And is it the
Right.
general public, or is it our stakeholders and partners?
I know where you're going. Let me guess. Because we had this talk last year where
Yeah.
we don't want to make it about us,
Yep.
our PlanRVA organization, but we want to basically be seen as helping the localities and keeping the focus on what the localities are doing and how they're cooperating, right? Am I going there?
Yeah. So here's what I've sort of come up with to kind of do what you just said, but also try to gain a little bit more steam in our own, promotion of ourselves. And that, so VACO reached out to me and they've invited us to submit for their newsletter. So I think one of the things that we could do is become much more aggressive in responding to opportunities where we could be featured in some of the trade publications. So VACO, VML, NATO, NACO, all those kinds of groups where people in your shoes would be like, I think it'd be pretty cool if a commissioner or a local government administrator read about this initiative in the VACO newsletter, which might feel better to everybody than us being in the RTD.
I'm kind of in the camp now of all of the above, to be honest with you. Because here we are. What is the first word in the name of this committee? It's public outreach. So if the public doesn't know PlanRVA, then are we really doing public outreach, or are we just helping Henrico do outreach and Powhatan do outreach, et cetera? So I don't know. I think we're going to strike a balance there somehow. I think we were too modest at the beginning, but we got to be careful not to eclipse our mission and our partners. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
So I don't know. I would like to see that logo that I'm looking at a little bigger, but what the heck? You just brought up VACO. I know I sound like one of those people that, I know everyone in the room, but VACO, I went through the Supervisor certification course, right? So I am a graduate of the VACO Certified Supervisor thing. And then they turned around and they actually had me teach classes. And I have taught several times at VACO downtown and in Charlottesville and wherever, and been well received. So is it Dean Lynch that we're contacting down there, the head of it? Is that?
Yeah, I mean, it was their media person, but I know Dean. Their media person is who reached out about that. They wanted to profile associate members, which is what we are. And so I think just because we have a good relationship with VACO and we're close, they picked us to kind of start with.
Cool.
I actually taught at one of the new commissioner certification trainings, I guess about 3 years ago now. I never got asked to come back though, so I don't know what that means.
Don't take it personally. They've actually both the instructors, Mike Chandler and Martha, the other Martha,
Yeah,
I think.
yeah.
Martha, I think, retired from it fully, and that was fine. And Mike Chandler had some significant health issues
Did. Yeah.
in the Mayo Clinic or whatnot. And I think he's better now. He lives in Powhatan now. But long story short, they had a big shakeup there. Even the program
Yeah.
coordinator has changed hands. So there's been a lot of changes. That's all.
Yeah.
But
Well, we
anyway, okay. So
work through VAPDC with VACO to try to like align our efforts a little bit more. So Dean has been a really awesome partner in that regard.
well, he would know who I am. He and I were actually in some of the classes together. And I think, I'm not sure, I think we both graduated the same day.
Oh, cool.
But he would know. I go down there and heckle them sometimes. So that's all right. Okay, so that being, so if you need me to do anything there, I can do that too.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah.
You know, what I'm thinking is, why don't we push to have PlanRVA do a 15-minute thing to the supervisor course, and for that matter, the planning commissioners. We could do that too. I mean, if we were built into their curriculum on a regular basis, that would be awesome.
Yeah,
So,
it would be. We have been slowly but surely working with the land use education program, and by we I mean statewide, and VACO and the VML certified council member program to get a standing position on their agendas. Because
well, all right.
for the elected officials to hear about the Planning District Commission as a resource to them.
So the 72 font thing, are we going to do that? Just, I'm kidding.
No, I
With the
hear
logo.
you, and I will. It's been me. I've been the block on that, so I will reorient the way I'm thinking about that.
Well, I don't know. And there's a balance there, Martha, and I'm just, I'm joking.
No, but I hear what you're saying, and you're right. The public needs to know that we're behind this stuff. Otherwise, we're not going to build that trust that we've talked about for the last 2 years. So I get it, and I need to be continuously reminded of that.
There's a way to put your brand on it, your stamp on it, without bragging, and I think that's where we need to be.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. But I'm pleased. This is all like picking at small stuff. I'm really pleased with the whole thing. So don't get me wrong. This is good stuff. You have a reason to be excited about this. This is good.
Thanks. Yeah, I think yeah. Nicole, I'm so glad you were on this call today. I feel like it was like a neat way to, you'll be able to give Sid and me a bunch of feedback about how we're talking and thinking about things, I bet.
Yeah, thank you for letting me listen in. It sounds like a wonderful committee and great stuff you guys are working on.
Yeah.
Well, usually there's like 4 or 5 of us besides, this, but we need to push forward a little bit, because when people see that they belong to something useful that is getting things done, they feel bad if they miss out on a meeting. And so we need to, I think, through this lockdown sort of, stay at home scenario, I think we need to keep pushing a little bit. That's me. But, Nicole, I can tell you're one of the smartest people on this panel, because you've had mute selected a lot of times. The person,
I did a lot of just listening.
That's the smartest person in the whole conversation.
Well, that's everything that we had prepared, I think, today, Sid, unless you have anything else to review.
Not that I know of. Like I said, I'll provide the update, outreach updates summary in the document, in the folder, and then that way that people, other committee members can take a look at what we discussed and what's going on too.
Okay.
And then since we're okay with this logo, with this banner, that can be placed in there as well, so that they can see that as well. That was
great. So Larry, we have, I think, quite a few follow-up items, including getting the notes and everything out to everybody. But I think we would like to request that the committee convene again in May, if you feel like that would be okay, or what are you feeling like is the right pace right now?
There are two things that we need to do. I'm all about full steam ahead here. I was a Navy guy. The two things that we really need to jump on, in my opinion, is yes, have another meeting in May. Let's do that. The other one is the outreach to new members. If we don't have some sort of orientation and outreach program going pretty soon, they're not going to be new anymore. So even though we haven't had that many meetings, you know, and it's been kind of weird this spring, it's kind of odd to do an orientation or, you know, a buddy system, mentor system, if they've been on PlanRVA for 10 months, you know. So I think we need to jump on that. So yes, let's move. Let's do it.
Okay. So Sid and Nicole, if you don't mind, once Larry hangs up, maybe we can just chat for a minute too on just like logistical next steps. Okay. Great. Well, whenever you're ready, Larry, we can adjourn the meeting, and then you can get on with the rest of your to-do list for the day.
Yeah. And Martha, one more thing. If you want to talk on the phone one-on-one sometime, whatever, in the next week or so about the part-time going to full-time or the 2 FTEs or whatnot, you know, we can chat about that and
that would be great. Should I just
strategize
times?
How to present that is important. So if you want to go more into that, but that's a little outside this committee. So we'll talk later.
Okay, great. I'll follow up with you by email.
Okay. And Sid, where are you? Are you at home?
I'm at home, yeah.
Where do you live, man? It looks like a rich place. You live in a mansion or something? What is this?
I live in Northside. My roommate bought a house, so I'm one of his roommates.
Oh,
and the house, yeah, Northside, yeah.
Martha, note to self, we're paying Sid too much. Okay.
No, we're not. He and I live in the same neighborhood. He's good.
No, I was trying to put my West Elm background in there to kind of confuse you guys, but that didn't work with the Gotomeeting. So I couldn't get a nicer, you know, skyline view of some city with a balcony.
Well, it's too late. I saw the Rolls Royce out the window that one time you spoke. So you're toast. All right. Nicole, thanks for joining us.